and then if they join, we'll engage them. I guess Peter Barley want to talk about ASP.NET Generator. Um, I would assume. And Joe, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it or not. So I forgot to do one last month for April for April I guess. Um, and then it kind of felt like it was time, and then I guess RC1 has landed today, and I can technically talk about it now. Although I think everyone sort of saw all the packages going up this morning, so. Um, Dustin, did you have anything you want to start with at all?
It says pause on his icon for some reason.
Oh, maybe you got disconnected. All right, we'll give him a second. I don't see pause on there, but I'm on the web interface, so.
Now, Dustin, are you there?
Sorry, I'm here. I'm bouncing between calls right now. Sorry about that.
Yep.
You're terrible. We don't like you anymore.
So I think the question was, did you have anything you wanted to discuss to kind of start off? Oops. I think he's going, maybe this was a bad time for Dustin. I guess probably because the release is going out. I think the release is like kind of happening like right now, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that timing just kind of happened. I didn't know that was happening, or I would have actually probably moved it till tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know he's got a release that he's for VS Code that he's pushing. On my side, I need to give Adam some love. I've actually been working 2 jobs right now, so I haven't had much time for anything open source. Really, a 3rd job. So I'm hoping to have some time this weekend or some time off in the evening this week to give Adam some love, make sure that we can get the RC2 bits all working.
Right, got it. Okay, sounds good.
Samueli, I'm sorry if I completely screwed up your name. Or you're doing Emacs, right?
No, I'm technically the yeoman generator for ASP.NET. I mean, no, for .NET Core, sorry.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm trying to keep all the names
No
together.
problem.
Let's see. Because I know Dustin had some stuff he wanted to talk about, so I'll skip over VS Code for now. I don't see anyone else for Emacs or Sublime. Troy, did you have anything to add on? I know you had some dependencies updated over the weekend. The only thing I noted is that I did try to do a release with that, and the Linux builds didn't happen, so I'm going to try and figure that out the next day or two.
Yeah, so I think I drafted a few wiki pages. I guess I have some idea moving forward. What's the feature we want to add to the omnisharp rustling? Because after we have Couple team using the VS Code and omnisharp for a while, there are many feedbacks comes in. I pick like the top 2, thinking this scenario we can like at least improve or implement it. One top of it is to able to run the test case unit tests in IDEs with the omnisharp support. So that's the feature I'm currently working on. I think if we go to omnisharp Roslyn to the wiki page, I have a few spec drafted out. Another thing I'm currently improving is the restore scenario. We keep have kind of the restore functionality works, but the usability is not that good, and like repeatedly restore take a lot of time. The notification is not good. The output is noisy. So something which I'm currently working on as well. But I think we ship RC2 now. We are closing to RTM. So I think we should get some points, get together, think about moving forward for OmniSharp, what we should do, like the next build, what's the biggest feature, like any architecture level change we want to make. I think we should gather and make some decision at this point.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, for the unit testing, I'd love to see a great, end-to-end scenario, sort of like the what was it, the Mighty Moose thing that Greg Young did years ago. That would be really, really sweet to have that kind of functionality. I mean, I don't know how realistic it is to get, fine grained detail, but even if we just get tests listed and whether or not they pass, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
A couple weekends ago, I actually took a stab at trying to map out what it would look like to do a Razor host. And I mean, it looks like it would be, for the most part, fairly workable on the OmniSharp side. I think a lot of the more work lives on the client side to know, how to switch between HTML mode and C# mode through grammars or whatnot. We would need. Unfortunately, I don't think we can reuse much of the Oslin, autocomplete sources and stuff. We'd have to build our own. But I mean, it looks doable, just a lot of work.
Yeah. So I just sent a link. I hope we all can go through this thing I listed out, adding if you have additional concerns or issues you notice and we should put in the plan. We all can add it in that page. I hope we can have a place centralized, put our idea into a big document, and then we can begin file issues, mapping all these feature into what feature we need to implement it, so we can have a better plan moving forward.
I'll put that in here in the agenda too, so people can see what link we're talking about. Just so we have that. Dustin, are you with us, or are you still in between calls?
I'm here. I'm listening.
All right. Are you able to talk a little bit, or are you just busy with the release?
Oh, there are a million things going on. There's a million things going on. We had to make some tweaks to the VS Code extension. Essentially, where it was downloading a release from the GitHub releases for OmniSharp, that was getting rate limited at OSCON, and so we need to make some changes, last-second changes. So GitHub was killing it. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Do we need an API key or something in there? Or...
Yeah, we need an API key. So I have put a personal API key with minimal access in there, so we can do better with that. I think long term, what we might do is, because we snapped as particular OmniSharp releases anyways, we might just stick those in Azure Blob Storage somewhere behind a CDN and download them like that. So that at least the VS Code extension and anybody else who wants to play on that editor extension wise, we can take official releases and put them someplace where we don't have to worry about GitHub policies and that sort of thing. It just downloads, and it's intended specifically for downloading that really quickly.
I mean, I'd love to be able to just throw up an Azure. I mean, I actually thought about just setting up a free site with my MVP account.
Yeah.
Just to have a storage account, throw them up on there. Just every release, just go there. I mean, it's not storage is expensive.
Obviously, we've got the ability to just do that. So that's probably what we're going to end up doing long term. Right now, we just put an API token in there to kind of help things out. But yeah, we're going to long term we'll try and put it on Azure. So blob storage.
Cool. And you had a list. Are you able to talk to that list yet? Are you?
I do have a list.
The fires?
Let me find that. Let's see, backlog. I've got a mail with a whole list of things that I just sent out to some folks. But obviously, there's a bunch of stuff we want to do. Now that we're getting this kind of this release out for for RC2, and the world's about to change again. Yay! I guess yay. Is that a good thing? I don't know. And so we've got some things we have to do for RTM, and there's a bunch of stuff we just want to do to make omnisharp better, to make to make omnisharp better, and to make the VS Code extension better. So let me find my list. I don't have a great way to share it, so it's okay. We'll try and capture this in some way. So if
you could copy and paste it if you want.
What's that?
Just copy and paste it to the agenda GitHub and add it as a comment.
Sure. Okay. Just give me a sec to find it, and then we'll get that done.
And we have a record of it too, that it existed until you edit it and delete everything.
Yeah. Well. Sure. So let me go and just start editing here. You guys don't have to wait for me.
I guess while he's doing that, Saeed, do you have anything for generator stuff and with tooling stuff that's happening on the DS side?
Yeah, I have. So, yeah, I've recently gotten involved in .NET New, which is going to be a command line experience for creating projects. And the way that I'm trying to, set that up is we'll have a project templates sourced out of a package, most likely a NuGet package. And after that is hold on, I'm going to mute a couple people here. All right. So the templates will be hopefully sourced out of NuGet packages, and the idea is that we'll be able to reuse this tool to create projects, not only at the command line, but also inside Visual Studio, and then hopefully inside Yeoman and maybe even VS Code, if that makes sense. Because right now the challenge is, we're authoring templates for Visual Studio, and then we're also authoring for Yoa ASP.NET. So we've just kind of started that. I think we probably could do like a community demo probably at the next monthly meeting, or maybe even in a couple weeks, I guess. If people are interested, let me know. And then I think, for long term, I'm hoping that we'll author the templates inside .NET New, and then we'll create an interface with Yoa ASP.NET that it actually just calls this tool to actually do the generation after the input's been gathered. So that's kind of my thought process on templates. And then I'm also going to work to see if we can have like a community way to create a template inside .NET New, and then have that template surface inside Visual Studio as well. I haven't really looked too much at that side of it yet, but after we make more progress with .NET New, I think then we can look at that.
On a note of that, it'd be interesting if NuGet supported tagging, kind of like NPM does, where you can tag a release and say, or you can put a tag on your thing, so like, all Gulp plugins can be grouped together. It'd be interesting if we could even get that at NuGet at some point.
Yeah,
somehow.
NuGet's actually looking at a feature like that. It's called package type, I think. So yeah, that's something that they're taking a close look at, I think.
Yeah, so that'd be cool. I see Peter's joined us.
I see. Okay, great, awesome. Okay, cool. We just finished the template discussion, Peter. No, we can rewind it for you. So basically, what I was just kind of talking about the future of templates, and I've been involved in I've kind of got started working on .NET New, and what we're envisioning there is to create templates inside .NET New, and then hopefully they're going to be sourced from a package, most likely NuGet packages. And the idea is that we can author templates once, and then take that and then plug that tool into Visual Studio, and then plug it into .NET New, and then plug it into Yoa ASP.NET, hopefully, and then maybe even VS Code. So that's kind of the idea. I think we can do a kind of community demo either in 2 weeks or at the next monthly OmniSharp meeting. And if anybody's like super interested in knowing more, then let me know, and then I can send you email instructions on how to get started playing around with the bits that we currently have. But yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to make creating templates really easy, and then shipping updates to multiple locations like VS and Yo ASP.NET a lot easier than what it is today. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Well, I
think
got a couple
I
notes
just kind
noted
of
down for that
recapped
too.
everything here, Peter. But yeah, we'll talk more, and we're recording it as well. Okay, go ahead, David. I think you were saying something.
I was just commenting on what you were saying. Looks like Dustin has the list now too, if he wants to start, if he's got time.
Just one sec. Okay, so yeah, Troy and I have been talking about this. These are just some potential backlog items, some things that I'm going to get after pretty quickly after we get this release out, because we want to turn around and be ready for the next release and have some new stuff in there. Obviously, there's some changes that have been coming from Roslyn. That public completion API that I promised like a year ago and talked about like .NET Rocks and everything, that's finally out. And it's at a state right now because we haven't actually officially shipped it as a in some Visual Studio release yet. It's still it's still accepting feedback and can make changes to the API to better suit us if it's not working like we want. So I'm going to take a stab at plugging that into OmniSharp and seeing how much better we can get things in there. That'll give us a completion list it's essentially the one we actually now use this one in Visual Studio itself. So it gives everything. There's a ton of bugs around things like object initializer, IntelliSense, and stuff like that this should address. It will also give us the ability to do things that we might not be ready for yet. Like for example, in VS Code, I'll give you an example. Override completion is expressed through this. So like where it pops up, after the override keyword, a list overrides, and then it gives hints in the API because the API is just data. It gives hints to the host to say, okay, well, here's how it completes. Here's how it actually completes in the editor, and here's where you should move the caret afterwards, the editor caret, things like that I might not even have support for. I might not even have a callback in VS Code that I need to go look for and determine whether I can use everything, at least in VS Code. But some of the editors might be able to take advantage of it. It might also end up changing our protocol a little bit to if we want to push more of the data out to the editor extensions. Does that sound good? Reasonable?
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I mean, I'm sure we'll have to add more stuff to the data. If the shape needs to change, though, it's just make a new API, kind of like we did with code actions.
Right. The next one on the list is to do better signature help. So I'm working on this right now. Since we've got kind of a basic shape of what we want these APIs to look like, I'm moving the signature help, which today is completely dependent on the Visual Studio editor, and so I'm taking that and pushing it down into the Roslyn features layer and working on an API for that, and then we could push it into OmniSharp. There's a whole ton of bugs I've seen on the VS Code extension, on OmniSharp Roslyn, around things like, it doesn't work for collection, like constructor, calls and things like that, and this should address all of that. It's also, to be perfectly clear also, this is the fact that Xamarin is now fully in the family, and Xamarin Studio 6 is also using Roslyn for its IDE experiences. So we want to make these public for OmniSharp and for Xamarin and for everybody. So there should be a lot more progress here as we start moving forward.
That'd be great, because I know I've seen cases in the object initializer where it's like, oh, you're trying to give it the signature help for something that's completely unrelated.
Yeah. So, well, this should fix that. The other one I want to take a look at, especially on C# editing, this one is the way we pull out code actions and recommend them, and the order that we decided to do that in is super weird. I was looking at the code one time, and I was like, and I didn't really follow exactly what I was doing to try and organize the code actions, and at the very end it just did like, and then we'll just array.reverse at the very end. I was like, what? I don't understand this. So I'd love to get in there and rationalize and kind of fix some bugs and make sure things like add using are always at the very top, of the recommendations, that sort of thing. Performance. This is a VS Code specific one. Turns out that the VS Code C# extension actually passes the entire buffer on each character. Joe had assured me that at one time that it didn't do that, that it passed just changes, but then I found that it did, and he's like, oh yeah, it does. Sorry, I forgot. We changed it back because of some particular problem. So I didn't want to make that change for this release of the extension. It was a little scary because, if it gets corrupted, and those are hard bugs to track down, right? So I'm probably going to make this change sometime this week to the extension to make sure that it's not passing every character on a buffer, and we'll start dogfooding it and flushing out bugs on that. But I was kind of disappointed to find out this was the case. So that means that it works really great for toy projects, and it doesn't work really great for big projects. So our bad. The next one, better syntax highlighting. This is partly for VS Code, I think, because there is at least some level of support from omnisharp, but VS Code doesn't allow you to specify span. So this is mostly about the extension. VS Code requires kind of a text-mate grammar and doesn't give any other opportunity for providing a colorization. So I'm going to be chatting with those guys. This is probably a post, next release, probably like 2 releases out. And then another one that we want to do, and it's probably about 2 releases out because we want to make sure that we get the first few items, but we need a way to do metadata as source. I think in Atom, don't you make this work somehow, David?
Yeah, by reflecting into the features assembly and doing bad things that we shouldn't have to do.
Yeah, so we don't want to do that. And we want to make sure that this is supported. We need it in lots of places. So not just for editors. We need it for other reasons too. So this is on the backlog. It needs a Roslyn API, but it's something we want to get to. Let's see. What's up?
On the syntax highlighting side, we do have an endpoint that basically just surfaces the tokenizer for the most part, and then you can give us classifications of what you want. Atom does do it, and it works sometimes, and then when it doesn't, it just blows up catastrophically.
Right.
But it's the same idea. Atom doesn't really support any other grammars but text-mate. So the support is actually just kind of hacked in that case.
Yeah, and that's, I'm going to see if we can get something for VS Code. I mean, I talked to some of those guys at one point, and they were like, oh, yeah, sure, the language server, should be able to say that, it wants to take over and, and provide an API for us to do that. Because I want to get type colorization and everything, all the semantic highlighting looking good too. People mention it every time they use it. They're like, why does this look different? And of course, we have the APIs from Roslyn to expose it. We just need something from VS Code to allow it. So
just tell them that Atom supports it.
Yeah, right. Say Atom supports it. What's wrong with you guys? That they used to get. They just start sulking when you tell them things like that. It's not as effective as you want.
No, I
know. Project management. There are a few project management things I want to do in VS Code. This probably doesn't apply as much to Atom because I think you're in better shape there. I haven't checked out what the others do here, but one thing I want to do in VS Code is to allow kind of a startup project for debugging. Right now, it has to generate this launch.json file that VS Code uses to launch the debugger, and once it generates that, you have to hand edit it. So I wanted to provide at least a little bit of tooling to kind of fake around, kind of regenerating that, and regenerating where the output binary is for your project, so you can F5 after picking a new startup. So that's something VS Code specific. Another one that's VS Code specific is better.NET Restore, because we do it pretty terribly in VS Code today. And so kind of making this more robust. How it works today is it uses the DNX restore command that we had before and just calls .NET instead, and that was kind of hacky and terrible. So we just want to make it better. Project less experience. The idea that having just creating a C# file should actually have a decent, reasonable experience with no project at all. This is something like in Visual Studio when you create a new file and it's not in the project, or you open a file it's not in the project. We at least kind of try and give you some some IntelliSense for like MS Core Lib and System Core, and that's about it. But yeah, we don't have anything in VS Code today. So your experience is you install VS Code, you install a C# extension, you create a C# file, and you start typing, and it's really awful until you put a project.json next to it. So I don't know what that looks like, and it's certainly like a couple of releases out, but that's something we've talked about. And then kind of getting back to the generators and templates, there is an ask. We've had some asks from people for some like new file templates to make it a little easier in VS Code. I'm not sure what they support yet from a templating perspective. So I was going to take a look at this and see if there's anything we could do. But it's a couple of releases out.
I've used Yeoman in the past for Atom, and I just call into the Yeoman extension itself.
You just add some commands and add to Yeoman and call it.
Yeah, and see a new C# file, and it calls into Yeoman, generates a file.
We might do something.
The stuff in there.
Yeah, there is an extension for VS Code that calls into Yeoman, and I think it does work for subgenerators as well.
That'd be awesome. I was just going to throw this on here to tempt Syed because he's super passionate about generators and templates. He's the only person I know in the world that really is super passionate about templates, like rabidly, excited about them. So I was just going to throw this on here to tempt Syed to get his.
Yeah, whenever you get started, definitely do let me know, and then hopefully we'll make good progress with .NET New, and then we can use that.
That'd be great too. Yeah.
And I had some communication with the guy that does the Yeoman for VS Code. I don't know if it supports services. On the Atom side, I have a service you can call to invoke a particular generator. I don't know what work he's done there, but we can always have a sit down or something if you need help there.
Right. Okay. Great.
So that's kind of kind of making things better, making the world better for what we've got today. The next set of things are more new experiences. So Razor editing keeps coming up, and I'm not even sure how to do it. We need to kind of investigate and figure out how that works. I know in Visual Studio it's horrifying how it works. It's pretty scary stuff. So
I mean, I looked at it the other week. I don't know if you were on when I said that.
I saw you chatting about it. I didn't know how far you got.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. But I mean, it looks pretty doable to pull in a new host and have a project system dedicated to it. But it's going to take a lot of editor back and forth so that the editor understands that, hey, this is HTML or this is C#.
Yeah.
Especially when you start talking like tag helper inputs and stuff like that, where if it's an enum, you actually can just put the enum value in there. Yeah,
the whole secondary buffer thing in Visual Studio is like no end to the number of bugs that we've dealt with there, and none of those, and as far as Rosalind's concerned, I mean the all those bugs that all lives in the layers of the Visual Studio editor because it's all really specific to the editor itself. So getting this to work might be the sort of thing that every extension has to really think about how that works for them or whether it works for them. But it is very tricky what we have, the way the infrastructure works today.
Even if we could just get compilation and diagnostics and stuff,
yeah.
I mean that would be a huge first step.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So we could probably I specifically put these last few things as they're bigger things that probably don't stand on their own. They need to be split out into separate work items. And possibly even, kind of staggered experiences where we'd like, okay, today we've got, diagnostics and compilation happening and IntelliSense is, on the roadmap somewhere. Even if we could get there, so some of these are intended to be broken down like that. The next one is the unit testing experience. I'm not talking about inside omnisharp, that's a whole other story. But like a unit testing experience with .NET Test, and all of that inside of this is from my perspective, it's for VS Code, but it's for everything, right? To make sure that there's a good experience around .NET Test. We want to be able to, for example, also be able to hook up the debugger and that sort of thing. The other thing is I didn't put on this list because I haven't had a conversation with the guys yet, but figuring out how we can get you guys the information you need to host the debugger as well, right? The core CLR debugger that we're using in VS Code. And the debugger guys actually do all that work in VS Code, but they've got stuff, and it's not outrageously hard to hook up. So, but I need to have a conversation with those guys to figure it out. But with the unit testing thing, I mean, running my tests is one thing, keeping things running is another thing, and then and discovering them as well. But then also being able to say and debug this and hook up the debugger and hit a breakpoint and step through my unit test is kind of a critical experience too. So. That's also on the backlog, and it's possible that that debugging might only be a VS Code thing, but I'm kind of hopeful it won't be. I'd like to get that able. So anyway,
only blocking or debugging is there's no other editor that has a good debug UI. Or VS Code does. So there's all that additional work you do on top of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, the debug UI is a thing, and that's kind of a big piece. Being able to hit breakpoints and step through code, even if you have kind of very minimal support for debugging, because most I mean in VS Code at least for the UI we still just plug into the node debugger. Yeah, anyways. And then the last things are things that Troy and I put on the list as kind of just improvements to omnisharp, some engineering improvements. Troy had a laundry list of things because he spent a lot of time in there that he'd love to improve in just making everything smooth as silk. And then the plugin system as well that you've got in there. We want to better make that work better. And then something I forgot to put on here completely was possibly using the Node client for VS Code as well. There's a lot of duplicated code that we could get out of VS Code, out of the C# extension. So, yeah. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Does anyone have any comments on all of that fun stuff? I know I interjected a bit.
No one cares.
No one cares. The only other thing I had was the new .NET project system, C# thing, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
What is that going to mean for us going forward?
Well.
Okay, let me pick this up. I think we will have a better picture in the following weeks at this point. There are many changes coming into the project system, but we're not sure about it, and honestly, not ready to share the detailed story at this point. But projects is as of now, at least for in the following into the RTM, I'm pretty sure the project JSON still works. We invested a lot into the project JSON. We will keep the work for a while. So in terms of what coming in the future, I think we can talk about this in a few weeks. But generally, because we have a very robust project system model here in the OmniShop, swap things in and out will be easy. Anything change to the .NET system, I'll be the first one to jump on to make the change.
Okay, I mean the big one was the what is the new Roslyn project system that's going to be part of Visual Studio 15 or 2016 when it gets branded. Is that going to have much impact for us, or is that sort of extra stuff that it's doing for managing MS build and stuff? And is that important for us to consume so that we can properly build CS proj files? Or does anyone know? Because I'm not sure if you guys are related to that particular team or not.
I'm not sure about this.
What was the question again?
Yeah, repeat the question.
So the new Roslyn project system, is it important to us, or is it something that we need to worry about, or is it something that's completely separate from what omnisharp needs to do?
The Roslyn project system. So there should be some things that we can take advantage of, some things that may be hidden. This is something that's being worked on, and it's something we need to do because we want to. Right now, we did Roslyn, and we got most of the C# and VB stack managed and rehostable. A lot of it, anyways. The project system was intentionally out of scope for that. They are still native, horrible, ugly things that are filled with a bazillion years of bug fixes and that sort of thing. So there's an effort to move to in Visual Studio what's called the Common Project System, which is a base for creating managed project systems inside VS, and it's also rehostable outside of VS. So a lot of that sort of management of updating MS Build files and when you add a file, all that sort of thing, all that will be handled by this project system. So it is something that would be interesting to OmniSharp, as it kind of evolves. It's just starting right now. I think you guys saw that the repo is like 95% Visual Basic code or something like that, because the first thing that happened was pushing out all of the Visual Studio project property pages, which were all written in VB back in, they're all VB WinForms back from VS 2005 when they were originally authored. And they still are VB WinForms code. There's lots of VB WinForms code running in Visual Studio if you didn't know. And so that's the first thing that got pushed. There's a whole bunch of work that's going to be happening over the next several months on that repo, ideally publicly, that we'll see, we'll be able to use. So, but it's a bit further out. I'd say probably, a year, 6 months to a year out before it's something that we'd be able to look at seriously. So, does that help?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to understand what it was, or if it's like if it's something that comes across and replaces OmniSharp, or if it's more something that we can use to
I don't think it replaces OmniSharp.
in the future.
Yeah, I think it's an enhancement for OmniSharp. It's going to replace the project systems in Visual Studio, the ones that are there, the old native ones. And then there's a goal to make sure that it's hostable outside of Visual Studio. So, all the mess of things that, OmniSharp has to hack around with MS Build, that stuff gets kind of rationalized into a real thing, a real component that you can use. So it might make the OmniSharp server, at least the code for it, a little smaller, but I think mostly it'll be now managing a lot of the work we have where we're kind of manipulating a workspace. That might actually be managed by the project system now, which makes that just simplifies that a bit and adds features like workspace manipulation features, like adding a project or those sorts of things, a lot easier. It just kind of takes that. So
cool. I figured that's what it was, but I wasn't sure and wanted to figure out what it is early.
So that's what it is. David Keane is working on it. If you know Dave or you see him on Twitter or anything, so he's the one working on that.
That poor guy has to deal with all that legacy code. Does anyone have anything else? Is that a no?
Yeah, I'm all done.
All right, cool. I guess we'll call it a little bit early. This is some awesome information. There's some great stuff coming. On just a note for myself, hopefully I'll have more time in the next month or so. I did actually get my visa approval. It's not in my hand yet, but it's been approved. So I'll be switching to my new job. I don't want to have to work two at the same time. So I'll have some more spare time in the evenings again.
Okay, sounds good.
Saeed, can you get the link for the recording?
Yeah, I'll
stuff.
post it and send it to you. Yep, thank you.
Okay, great. And then I'll try to schedule one for early April, and then we can have you demo
April.
Donna or April, whatever.
June.
Yeah,
Early June. And then so you can demo the .NET new stuff then too, maybe.
Sure, great.
If that's it, I'll sign off and talk to you guys later.
All right, guys.
Okay, thank you.
See ya.
Bye.